Today's Think Tank Accelerate program, Key Trends for 2014. Today's presentation is entitled, We Have Seen the Future, How Big Data and Analytical Tools Will Give Business Development and Marketing Powerful New Insights. Our presentation is delivered by Alina Gorokhovsky, previously Chief Strategy Officer at McKenna, Long & Aldridge, and currently a partner at RCT Partners. The Accelerate program is a series of 8 short webinar-style recordings, each addressing a key trend we believe is coming in 2014. Today's presentation is just one of those 8 webinars. As each recording is made, it can be made available on the Think Tank page on the Legal Marketing website, so legalmarketing.org/thinktank. Today's presentation is about big data and the analytical tools that are associated with it. Alina says, by asking the right questions, collecting the right data, and conducting the right analysis, legal marketers will have the potential to target clients more effectively, establish greater influence, and dramatically increase our return on investment. When you see this presentation and you want to comment using social media, please use the following hashtags: Accelerate and Big Data. And with no further ado, here is Alina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Hello, everybody. I got involved in the whole big data movement about 3 years ago. I spoke at a chief officers conference for multiple industries in New York, and I was on the panel with the chief strategy officer from Google and the chief strategy officer for Best Buy. And their approach to client-centric client business development and sort of driving value for their clients was significantly different from what we do in the legal industry. And so I started to look at the type of activities and the type of analytics that they were using and trying to apply them into the legal industry. And so what I figured out throughout the years is that using the data that we have collected over the years within law firms, and various firms collect that data in different ways, but mostly from new matter forms to marketing activities to your attendance of events and other things. But we can actually use that data to predict client loyalty. We can use that data to grow the firm. We can use that data to really focus more on marketing activities and budgets that make sense. So I am happy to present this information to you and how I have approached, and my folks who've worked with me over the years have approached big data and predictive analytics in the client-centric environment. So we are calling this the future that we already know. So you actually already know through data what makes your firm a success. By asking the right questions, you can really identify, who your top clients are. You already know who your top 200 clients are. And by looking at that information, you can use analytic tools to seek new clients. So if you profile what makes you a success, you can obviously target your marketing and business development activities to generate similar type of clients. It's all personal, and it's all client-centric as far as I'm concerned. I know that law firms are divided into various practice areas and industry groups and teams and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the feeling is that law firms should become a lot more client-centric and look directly at your client base and the clients that make you a success. So I was looking at a law firm that I did some consulting for, and they realized that 90 clients were actually representative of 78% of their business. So ultimately, 90 clients who, by the way, 75 of them were institutional clients of the firm, meaning they have been clients for longer than 10 years. So basically, their entire business model really focused, and this is a multi-jurisdictional international firm, but they really needed to focus and realized they need to focus more on those 90 clients and spend more time and value those client relationships better, because they've been spending a lot of time on new client development and conferences and advertising and all those activities that a little obsolete, and they have essentially been neglecting these clients. And over the years, we looked back to 10 years and identified that those clients are actually starting to use other law firms for various things, and they're actually losing business from those clients. So again, I just want to stress that everything is personal, and law firms should really become more client-centric, looking more at their top clients, identifying clients by actual data, and clustering them to drive more value. And my favorite thing to always do is ask any law firm leaders, why do clients retain you? What makes you a success? How do you judge client loyalty? And those are the type of questions that law firms, leaders especially, tend to be vague about. They know what makes them a success from a revenue perspective. They know what makes them a success from their top 25 clients perspective and their PPP, but they don't necessarily know how they got those clients, why they're keeping those clients, and what really drives success for their firms. So the exciting advantage to client profiling is that it enables firms not to only study their own relationships with their clients, but also provides a powerful context in which to study competitive data on the client relationships. So really, by knowing more about the history of your client and taking it back to previous 10 years, you're also able to identify what other law firms they're using, why you're losing business to them, or why, even more importantly, why you're winning business from other law firms. So my first step was to really start segmenting clients, to change some of the information that is being collected through new matter forms by adding things like, how did you get the client? Was this a previous relationships? Was this a new relationships? But, sort of incorporating 10 new questions into new matter forms that partners hate to complete, but, that's the kind of stuff that you need done to drive more data. Then also looking at your accounting reports and your predictive and your analytics, Redwood Analytics and other reports that various law firms and databases use, but looking at the lifetime volume of work and consistency which that work was provided over time for each client, analyze clients within their segments, which ones are unique relationships, which clients have been clients of the firm over the last 20 years, which clients are institutional clients, meaning if you look at your top 200 clients over the previous 10 years, you will identify which clients stay on and off the list, and once you dive even deeper into that information, you will find out that certain group of clients who continue to stay on the list, on your top 200 client list for over 10 years, tend to be your institutional clients. Those are the clients that are loyal to you. Those are the clients that tend to refer more business to you. Those are the clients who are out promoting you or speaking at your conferences or attending your events and so on. So, you really kind of segment those clients. You identify the size of the clients. You kind of put a loyalty scorecard for each client, and you start promoting clients within their networks. So a profile framework, you look at lifetime work volume, types of work, profitability of the work, the industry and the company size of certain clients. So I was talking to another chief marketing officer a year ago who was telling me that, their ideal client target was a company that was over $1 billion. And then I asked her, well, how did she identify that? Well, her whole thing is that mid-market, everybody targeting mid-market companies of similar size. And then I asked her to go back and look at her top 200 clients. And what she identified, in fact, was that her institutional clients, the clients that make her firm strong, are not the type of clients that they've been chasing. And so they've started to sort of reevaluate their business development efforts to really target clients that fall into their client profile. So then the most difficult thing is to assess the strength of a relationship. And that means you have to map out for each one of your institutional clients the size of their legal department, who do you know within the legal department, how those people, what their turnover is, what their drivers are, what networks they participate in, what are their true stay awake issues. And those are the relationships that really deepen the strength of the relationships, but also you begin to understand what makes you a success and what the clients really need. And then also the internal and external client relationship map. I'm actually quite curious how law firms really score their loyalty card. So if a client refers business to you, or another law firm refers business to you, how do you score that? How do you thank them for it? How do you continue building on those relationships that are your referral or third-party influencer relationships? And if there's a formal process that anyone has developed, because that's truly important, and that's data that you should be collecting, because that's, again, something that you're doing right. And so the goal is to do more of those type of things. Then you do your realization, your billing rates, and I don't know within other people's experience, but I believe that clients who tend to ask you for a lot of discounts tend to be clients who are so price sensitive that they're not going to be your institutional clients for a long time. So again, everything is all about your client loyalty scorecard. It's all about profiling and understanding your clients, both from the value that they drive for your firm and in addition the value that you drive to them, and also looking at your referral networks. So I think a lot of the MLaw publications and sort of industry experts have noted that loyalty is weakening among law firm clients, and that law firms have lost to a certain extent their understanding of what the client relationships really mean. And that's not just clients leaving firms and going to other law firms, but also, you know, there's a little bit of a lack of loyalty within partnerships. There's been a lot more lateral movements among firms, and the law firm culture has changed significantly and become, I think, more corporate. So you need to look at your success index. You need to really, really, as marketers, understand your law firm and focus on things that help you determine how you can influence client retention, focus on proactive and effective firm-wide business development efforts that are, again, very much structured to influence and work through things that already make you a success. You need to identify what success means. For each client cluster, for each client individually, really have a full understanding. If you're winning a pitch, it's really important, as we all know, to understand why you won, and just as important to understand why you lost. But then you have to start collecting that data, so on the bigger scale over the years, you have a true understanding of what makes you a success. Once you start to index your success factors and your client data, you'll become more strategic. You'll be able to look at things and say, okay, this activity, this referral type of activity makes us a success, versus going to conferences or advertising that does not. As an example of that, I was doing a client profile for a firm, the firm's environmental practice, and we really looked at how did the lawyers in that practice get their clients over the period of the last 15 years. And it's a very small, unique, niche firm, and that spends a lot of money on large-scale conferences, and actually spends money still on advertising and all of the who's who lawyer list and all those rankings. And so when I started looking at their clients, what I realized was that 85% of their business actually were institutional clients, and clients that they took really good care of. So these clients continued to give them some solid work, and they were quite good about increasing business within that network or community of clients. But then the other 15% actually came from referrals from other law firms. And actually some of the original clients, the institutional clients, also came to this boutique through other law firms. And so when we looked at all of their past history of marketing and business development activities, and we cross-referenced it with what actually makes them a success and how they actually get their clients, what we realized is that all of their marketing expenditures, well, at least most of it, was just being wasted. And so the commitment for them wasn't to do more events or attend those networking events that everybody hates. The commitment to them was really to identify 6 partners and other law firms who they knew represented clients that they wanted, who didn't have the type of niche practice that they did, and really target those law firm partners. And frankly, just introducing and proposing this new strategy for business development to them, and sort of giving them a pass for all the networking and conference events and just saying to them, look, I suggest you just look at 6 partners at 6 law firms, and that's your entire commitment to your marketing activities for the year. Just take those people to lunch, take those people to whatever big activities you want, but really make those individuals part of your network and accountable to you, and you be accountable to them, and I promise you, you'll generate more business. And in fact, they have, and they've been very, very happy with that very targeted profile, loyalty scorecard type of an approach. So this slide just covers the way that I break up the client profile metrics and the type of data that drives business and the type of data that we looked at when profiling clients. So I'm not going to cover that, but if you have any questions, just email us. And as far as institutional clients, so once you really identify the clients that you know have been on your top 200 client list for a period of 7 to 10 years and then some, what I recommend you do is look at their annual billing, look at their business needs, past and future, look at their company size, structure, the industry they're in, their stay-awake issues, success indicators, and what drives value for them. And once you've really cut and clustered and segmented those clients, you'll be able to find some trends. You'll find out that your law firm tends to attract clients of certain size with certain type of legal departments, and you do certain type of work for them. And once you cluster and identify those trends, then you'll have a better idea of A, what makes you a success, and B, how to structure your business development marketing activities to attract similar types of business. So here are some of the hard questions that I think each law firm should answer. And if you're going to your leadership of your law firm or your top partners, I suggest you ask them those questions. These are very difficult questions, but how do you measure client performance, management, profitability, client satisfaction? I mean, how do law firms manage client satisfaction? There are surveys, there are client teams, there are numerous activities, but are those true measurements of satisfaction? How do you measure client loyalty? Is loyalty clients attending more than 3 events, opening more than 5 advisories, referring business to you? Like, what are your indicators for client and scoring for client loyalty? How do you leverage best practices? Do you even know what your best practices are, both within business development and practice development? What is your ideal client profile? I think everyone in the law firm should be able to identify, and not one of these, we want to represent top-tier clients in the insurance industry or top whatever. No, your client profile is, we want to represent these 5 companies because we represent companies with similar issues throughout the years, and this is what we do extremely well. How do you communicate internally what makes your firm a success? How do you communicate with your clients? How do you connect your best practices and client profile to your business development budgets and your marketing and PR strategy? So I don't know how many law firms at the end of every year look through your marketing budgets and put out a return on investment factor on every line item, really looking at, did that conference generate enough business that we should sponsor it again? Did we do our advisories a certain way that we get 20 to 25% opening rates, or do we have a significant amount of advisories that are time-consuming and expensive to do that only had an open rate of 1%, and that 1% was the wrong 1%? So really looking at your budgets and looking back at your ROI. And then, how do you institutionalize more of your clients? How do you keep your clients happy that they're not leaving you, that they continue to refer business to you? So that's basically the niche of it, I think. Really looking at your data, the first step is to start collecting data in such a way that you can, year on and moving forward, start to analyze it, but also measuring some other things. We've started to track our advisories and what makes those a success. If you send a certain amount of advisories, depending on who opens them, an opening rate, do they really generate more business? Do attorney, I know at one point or another everyone started to look at attorney coaching and training and business development training. How many firms they look at activities that develop from that? If you provide a partner with 10 months of training, does that mean that next year that partner's business development activities and retention will go up by 10%, whatever your numbers are, but really start tracking everything. How many firms actually track how successful their client teams are, and if those teams are successful, how do you leverage that into other clients in the firm? Same with client meetings, cross-selling. You know, how many firms look after every retreat at the amount of activities between the partners to figure out if the retreat was a success? How many firms look at various events and say, okay, this event we had these 5 clients. You know, from this event are those clients giving us more business. Same with PR and media. You can track, you know, everything proposals. I think any firm that's not currently tracking their proposal process and their pipeline and really understanding what makes them a success and failure is at a huge disadvantage. And then obviously your website use, I think, really, it always drives me crazy when law firms, partners fight over their practice areas on their websites and they don't actually fix their bios. And as I think most of you know, website traffic, 80% of the traffic is focused on bios, and only, you know, 1% are focused on any type of a practice area. But anyway, really sort of start collecting as much data as possible and then really looking at all of it together with your financial department and your firm leadership, and then identifying what makes you a success. So in the future, I think using big data, using the right predictive analytics tools, and setting everything up on the metrics will help law firms to not just do the right things, but actually focus on doing things right. And I think it will also help the marketing departments and marketing managers to show their return on investment and the value that they bring, significant value that they bring to each law firm. So this is just our quick little presentation on the future we already know and the benefits of just collecting data and using data and profiling your clients. And I will hand that over back to you.
Thank you so much, Alina. That concludes